here. Okay, more than 12 people, so I feel a little more comfortable that I have just about a juror, maybe a couple of alternates, so I'm ready to proceed. My name is Stephen Klarich, and I'm an attorney here in Southern California. I've been doing criminal defense for approximately 32, 33 years. My first 20 years of practice was primarily trials, jury trials. But since that, my last 10, 12 years, primarily writs, appeals, and cleaning up people's records. And soon it started into seeking certificates of rehabilitation, getting governor's pardons, finding ways that my clients who no longer have to register as a sex offender. It's not easy. Doing this area of law, I did a lot of criminal defense in sex cases, so I've done a lot of jury trials. As such, California Teachers Association, as an example, uses our law firm in Southern California to defend teachers who are accused of child molest or any type of sexual offense. So I had a lot of first-hand information in how to defend these people, especially back in the 80s, in the Big Martin case and the witch hunts, which were brutal back then. And police investigations were horrible. Anatomically correct dolls were just a ridiculous way of getting these kids to talk. But that's where I got involved in criminal defense, primarily sex crimes. So my specialty, oddly, is dealing with post-conviction sex offenders who have been convicted either through trial or a plea of guilty. Now, there's a lot of handouts out there. Feel free to take what you'd like. Part of those handouts include actual sample certificate of rehabilitations that we had granted in 2 cases. In both of those cases, certificate of rehabilitation, one of them, that certificate stopped my client's obligation from registering. Now, I'm a California lawyer. I assume some of you people might be from out of state. I don't know out-of-state law, and I certainly would hope that out-of-state would have some type of a comparable system. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. In California, there are some ways to stop registering if you've been convicted. So on the table, you'll find certificates of rehabilitation granted. You'll find pardons that were granted. In fact, every pardon Jerry Brown granted in his tenure is there. Every one. There's about 200-300 of them. He's granted more pardons than any other governor in the last 25 years combined. That's what he does. He's a Democrat, he's liberal, that's what they do. They grant them. If Meg Whitman became governor years ago, they wouldn't grant any. It's just procedure, that's how it works. Arnold Schwarzenegger granted a total of 7 in his entire tenure. Now, a pardon will stop one's obligation from registering, which we'll discuss. Unfortunately, Brown has not granted any sex crime yet. I think he will, but as of right now, he hasn't. Most of the pardons are drugs and theft. But he does, even methamphetamine labs, he's granted pardons, so it's available. Also there, you'll find the syllabus of things we're going to be talking about. And also you'll find there our packet. When clients come in our firm and retain us and actually pay us money, I'm giving it to you for free, it's a packet of a certificate of rehabilitation. How do you get one done? Step-by-step approach. Same thing with the governor's pardon. The packets are there if you want to look at it. So first I'd like to discuss how to, you find ways to stop registering, but the best way to stop registering is not to start registering. That's up to your attorney if you're being charged, accused of an offense. Now, I'm not going to get involved with how to defend someone accused of a sex crime, psyche evals, getting all the time an investigation, interviewing the victim, the kids, the friends of the victim, and motives to lie and fabricate things that we're really deep into when we're defending a person. I'm talking about how to stop registering.
Sorry.
No worries. Either stop registering or never start. Never start. Your lawyer needs to understand the laws of California and how they apply. If you're charged with a sex crime, a lot of times your lawyer can negotiate before you admit anything. Before there's a change of plea, you can negotiate non-registrable offense, pleading guilty to a non-registrable offense. And I tell my clients, it's not jail, it's not prison that you should worry about. No, and I know it's easy to say for me standing here than some people are on the other side of my table looking at going to prison. Now, of course, it's important. But prison, hopefully, you get in, you get out, and it's over. It's done. It's a nightmare. You move on. You try to move on. The registration is for life. Until they put you in the ground, you're going to register every year to be reminded. Every time you move, be reminded. Your neighbors can put things on your door because under Megan's Law, California Megan's Law, there's your name, all the information is there. People that were registering as a sex offender, even before there was a internet, are on Megan's Law website. So your lawyer should work out a resolution before the plea, if there's any negotiations that will take place, not to require registration. Now, ordinarily, that would require getting a good psychological evaluation from a good doctor, not a, quote, whore. Now, there may be doctors in the audience, not all doctors are whores, of course, but DAs call them that. If they're just doctors, you give them $1,500 and they write a wonderful report that you don't fit the sexual profile of someone having an abnormal or an unnatural sexual interest in children, or perhaps this was more of a situational than a predisposition. He's treatable, a good report, but you find a good doctor who's testified both for the prosecution and defense. Your lawyers should know the good doctors out there who the DAs respect, who they admire, who they trust to do good work. Because then you get a good report, which is done privately, and it says your guy's clean or he's out of danger. That's what you give on the DA and the judge. If it's a bad report, of course, I flush it and I find another doctor. And I've done that before too. I've done that many times before, and sometimes I get a good report and it helped me. But the report can help sway the DA in a certain direction. Now, sometimes it doesn't work. They don't care. You're registering and that's it. Okay, so now you have to register. Your lawyer should be thinking about ways to minimize that registration. Set it up now at the plea so that 7 years down the road, which we'll talk about, or 10 years down the road, it will qualify you for something. Relief from registration. Plead to a crime that's called a wobbler. A crime that could be, again, California law. A crime that could be a felony or a misdemeanor. Okay, let's say it's a felony. You're placed on probation. You serve time in jail. When you get out and you complete probation, you can get that felony reduced. That may help you stop registering, which we'll discuss down the road. So your lawyer, before the plea is entered, can try to tailor the disposition that may not save you today, but it may save you in the future if he understands the law and understands registration and how that works. Now, California laws have some, there are cases that came down in 2008, 2010, Hofshire and Picklesimmer. Great cases. I mean, these sex crime laws are, I can't imagine the state legislature sitting there around the table discussing these sex crime laws. Well, see, penile penetration, no, that's not registrable. Okay, 261.5 is not a registrable offense. It's not.
That's crazy.
Crazy. Well, maybe it is, maybe it's not, but you don't have to register. But, oh, no, oral copulation, a digital penetration, that's registration. So, Mr. Hofshire says, wait a minute. There was oral copulation. The girl was 16 or 17. Oral copulation, how can that be registrable when penile penetration isn't? It doesn't make sense. Supreme Court agreed, said you're right, it's crazy. Now, oral copulation, 16, 17, is no longer mandatory. It's discretionary. The judge can exercise discretion, maybe say yes or no. Good psychological evaluation, character letters, awards, achievements, good things about the person, their life. The judge may deem before plea, before you even enter a plea of guilty, you could consider a Hofshire or Picklesimmer writ. But a writ is filed after you're convicted, you served your time, you're out, you've been registering for 5, 10 years, you don't want to register anymore. Hofshire will apply to you, but right now I'm talking about pre-trial. You can file a pre-trial Hofshire motion saying, Your Honor, I know my client's charged with oral copulation. Picklesimmer, same thing, but a digital penetration, 16, 17. I mean, wait a minute. Finger to, doesn't make sense. So the Hofshire and Picklesimmer, both cases said they now are discretionary. But you can file that motion before you're sentenced. I just had a case a year ago, exactly directly on point. My client was charged with digital penetration, which requires mandatory registration. It says it right there in 290. That's part of the crimes. But this Hofshire Picklesimmer motion was filed on my client's behalf. The judge considered it, and the judge deemed my client didn't have to register. Great stuff. But get a copy of that transcript when the judge makes that order, and have the transcript with you. Because on your record, it's going to say you're convicted of a sex crime. And the cop's going to say, well, that requires registration. Well, no, it doesn't. You want to make sure you have your transcript. And my client has the transcript, and he has it everywhere, to prove that the judge, as a matter of law, deemed he didn't have to register. But this stuff can be done before you even enter a plea. So make sure your lawyer understands these laws, which I certainly hope they would, to find a way to tailor the disposition in any way possible, either to stop registering, either don't even start registering, or to minimize registration requirements down the road by knowing these laws. The plea deal, of course, like I said, would require a good psychological evaluation, and your lawyer should have a good doctor who they would recommend that you go see privately. No one knows about this. The DA, the judge will not know. It's done privately. Because a lot of times I don't know who my client is. I don't know who they are. As far as I'm concerned, it could be a maniac. Who knows? So I want a good report or no report. You submit a good report to the DA about your client, or you submit no report. But I'm not going to submit anything, obviously, that would throw my client under the bus. Now, also, you want to try to resolve a criminal case before pleading guilty, if you can. That will require you may perhaps to be excluded from Megan's Law website. California has a website under Megan's Law. It's run by the Attorney General's office. Ms. Harris runs it. Not that bad of a lady in my experience. She's been somewhat more liberal on excluding people from Megan's Law, but your lawyer should know before you enter into the plea bargain with the DA about resolving it in some way, that am I going to be on Megan's Law? So if you could possibly try to tailor a resolution where you won't be on Megan's Law. Now the DA can't say, well, I'll just make sure you're not on. DA has no power. Judge has no power to do that.